Monday, January 9th meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission. What's your pleasure regarding the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Communications. Item number 1, request of Alderman Stoyer to look into the feasibility of redoing the 1988 Green Bay Intensive Survey of Historic Districts and Properties in the city. Recommendation is refer to staff, Finance Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, a second to refer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 2, request of Alderman Scannell to revise the city's zoning ordinance to allow painted wall signs in the downtown district. Recommendation is receive and place on file.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
If I can just provide a little clarification on that. I've talked with Alderman Scannell about this. Really, the proper procedure here would be for the applicant who's interested in having a wall sign to make an application for, changing the amendment, changing the code to allow for these. So that's why just to take care of the communication, do that, and then the petitioner will submit an application, and we'll take a look at it through that channel.
Okay.
Kind of on a one-to-one basis.
Well, yeah, and just in terms of, what's kind of prompting this, it's a particular property owner, and that's, in terms of just plan commission policies, it's procedure for that individual property owner to make the application, not the owner in this case. With that, I'll just, a quick heads up on the next item. Instead of receive and place on file, we'd like to ask to hold that to the next meeting, and I'll explain that in a moment.
So we would say receive and hold, or just hold?
Just hold till our next meeting.
So move. Or do we need to move that, or?
Request of Alderman Tom Duane to approve the sale of parcel number 9-45 to Simonette's LLC for $1 to get it back on the tax roll. So the recommendation is hold for the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
I guess I'd like to hear the explanation on it. I did have a call from Alderman Duane on that.
So I talked with Alderman Duane this afternoon. Initially, this request went to INS, primarily because our parking utility had been managing it. Simonette's is the adjacent property owner to parcel 945. This is on East Main Street. And in short, it was kind of the same process that we were going through with the previous one, the property owner who is interested in surplus property needs to make the application, to have this declared surplus and therefore be able to, purchase it. With that, it ran through the INS committee, who then brought it to council at their December 6th meeting. At that December 6th meeting, the item was pulled and a motion was made to approve the sale of the surplus property, contingent upon it being passed by Plan Commission. So with that, this is going to be held. The property owner, Simonette, has made application to have this declared surplus. So our staff and throughout the city is going through that review process right now. That will be on our next meeting on the 23rd. So that way it's best just to take those two staff recommendation about the property and this communication at the meeting on the 23rd.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to hold that. Everybody, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Old business, none. New business, consideration with possible action on request for a conditional use permit to operate a minor auto repair in a general commercial district located at 1909 Van Buren Street, submitted by Avisad Velasco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for a conditional use permit at 1909 Van Buren Street. That property is highlighted in red here. This is University Avenue, running kind of east and west. Van Buren is a parallel street over on the east side. This is Henry Street. Gippers is kind of a landmark in the area here. This is about a 1 acre parcel. There is a multi-tenant building that fronts University Avenue here, and there's a commercial building on Van Buren. That's the subject property we're looking at. Even though the whole entire property is highlighted, it's really just this particular building we're looking at. University Avenue is kind of a commercial corridor, as we know. There are a variety of commercial properties and some residential kind of throughout University Avenue. However, south of Van Buren is primarily low-density residential. Look at the comprehensive plan. Again, you kind of see that commercial corridor that's recommended as part of the plan. Low-density residential to the south. This is high-intensity retail office or housing that's been identified, so it's kind of a transitional area that's been identified actually as part of the University Avenue corridor plan. So the idea is to kind of cluster some of those commercial developments more to corners like Henry and University or Danville University, and kind of give some of the blighted properties. This is a conditional use permit, so the consistency requirement is not necessarily required, but just wanted to point out the comp plan recommendations. The current zoning is general commercial. Again, it's a commercial corridor. You've got low-density residential to the south, and that band of mainly C1 that runs along University. This is the site as it appears today. We're kind of looking north. This is Van Buren. You can kind of see that commercial building that fronts on University Avenue. This is the property in question, T's Tire here. This is how it appeared from last week. I just have another image of the property. The operator is currently operating in violation of the ordinance. They do not have a conditional use permit, hence they're here to obtain that. There was also some complaints about outdoor storage on this site. You can see the tires that were stored out here. There was a complaint filed, apparently was resolved in December, but yet the tires are still stored outside of the property. There is some history with this operator. He also was located at 215 Elizabeth Street and had similar issues with site plans and outdoor storage. So we notified affected property owners. We did not receive any calls regarding this. I briefly did talk to Alderman Nennig about this today. Really, this is kind of an incompatible use that we feel with the neighbors to the south, and we're also concerned about the complaint history and citation history of this property and property owners, so we are not supporting this request tonight for the conditional use permit.
Other questions? We do have some people here who would like to speak. We'll take people, sir, we're going to take people, I'm going to call people off these sheets. If you didn't sign in, please go ahead and grab a sheet up here and sign it. So when it's your turn to speak, come on up to the podium. Nancy Burke.
We actually could talk together, my husband and I, but we live right around
Okay,
the side of that building. We're at 555 Poole.
Poole Street.
And it isn't so much that,
You want to point to it up there, please, sir? Sure. The island is right here on the second house in the corner. Right here.
no, right off of Van Buren.
Right off of there.
We'll be
There's
like
the
right-
island and on the second house.
We're right here.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Pretty close to the island.
yes, very close. We get a lot of snow because of that.
As you saw in the picture, the tires and that were out front, and you saw when you were showing it earlier, that truck has been there for a month and a half. It's finally gone now, tonight. But the van's been there for 3 months already, and it's still sitting there. As you can see, the tires, we're in a residential area. We all take care of our lawns, and it's a beautiful neighborhood, quiet. And every morning I get up and this is what I look at. And the backside is even worse than the front side, so.
So you prefer not to be
I
operating?
prefer not to have it there. I mean, there were industries in there before, but they were quiet. You know, there wasn't any problem with anything. There was no noise or anything. This gentleman in the summertime has his radio or stereo playing. You could hear it a block away. I mean, you know, it's not kosher to the neighborhood, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I pretty much agree with that. It wouldn't be such a bad thing to have, I wish a business would go in there and that it would be kept up, but to just see junk all over the place, you know, people are moving in our neighborhood and they're taking care of their lawns and they're young people with children, and I just like that a lot better, to see that type of thing rather than this. So, yeah, I agree. I just really don't want to support it under these conditions. If they had different conditions, then that would be fine. I'm not opposed to the business, I'm just opposed to how everything looks, because we look out our front window and see that every day. So, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just ask a question, this is
Sure.
my district, so
Oh,
welcome to the
hi.
meeting. Could you tell me what has been located in there in recent years?
Well-
I think it goes,
Go ahead.
go back to when Piarkey's Heating and Appliance
We
was-
moved in when, we've
And
been there 40 years,
Didn't
so.
they use that for either appliance
Yes.
repair or storage?
They
or
repaired
something?
items that Piarkey's did.
Okay.
And then dressed beef, it sat there for a while, then dressed beef moved in there. And the inspector part of it, and they were inspecting the livers and whatever, but you didn't. You saw a vehicle pull up and a cooler go out, and that was it, you know. Then after that, it sat for a long time, and then there was a motorcycle gang and used that for a clubhouse. So,
That had its own set of issues. But at least nothing was laying out all over the place.
no.
But,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And then Mr. Valesco?
Hello, how's it going, everybody? My name is Abby. I'm the owner of the business. You know, I understand where my neighbors are coming from. It does look messy. You know, sometimes I was in 215 Elizabeth before I moved into this building, and you know the location was a lot smaller. So you know it's kind of hard for me to try to move around and maneuver with such a tight spot. You know, I could easily clean that up. That's really not a big deal. My vehicles, you know, I live in an apartment complex, so I can't have too many vehicles parked outside. You know, we only got like two parking permits for me and my wife, and you know, I have to store my vehicles there. You know, I don't have anywhere else actually to store them at. Those vehicles, every single one of the vehicles, you know, the registered, I can crank them up and drive them out. You know, except that I can't really drive 10, 15 cars, you know, daily. So I would have to park some of them out in that area. But you know, if I see where my neighbors are coming from with the mess or whatnot, you know, that mess is there. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's 100 tires. Sometimes it's a couple, like you see in the picture. You know, I try to keep up with recycling. As we can, you know, I have a contract with Belp. Sometimes it's kind of hard for me to, you know, take care of my business and recycle and everything because I'm the only one running it. So, you know, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to support for my family. I'm trying to do, you know, and if whatever code you want me to fix, you know, that's really not a big deal. I can go ahead and get that fixed. Other than that, I mean, it's a good location. Besides my neighbors from them, I can actually, all my neighbors actually go to me for tires. You know, they have a flat, they don't have to, you know, go to anywhere else. They just go straight up to me, and I'm trying to provide a service for the public of Green Bay. You know, whatever concerns, you know, I'm willing to work with whatever it is that I need to fix. You know, if y'all want me to just, you know, clean up or whatever it is, the situation, like I said, I'm just really trying to, you know, stay on flow with my family. It's, before I moved from 215 Elizabeth, if, you know, I believe it's Scott Nelson, the guy who's, you know, checking the area out. He just told me that, you know, I understand because it was like right on the main avenue, you know, and like I said, I did have tires outside. If he would have told me that if I could have just, you know, rented the whole building prior to, because then 215 there was a mechanic and I was the tire shop. So, you know, the city had problems with the mechanic, but, because I mean, my only cars that are parked outside would just be my personal vehicles. I do not do any like mechanical work. What I do is like oil changes, nothing that's gonna leave a car parked outside overnight. That's a quick in and out, and most of the job is actually done behind the building. So, you know, I have like small garage door that the cars drive in. I do everything I gotta do, and boom, you know, it's a quick job. It's nothing overnight.
Paul, are there places in the city where a business like this can operate without having to be concerned about the zoning, where the zoning's correct for it?
Right, like a highway commercial or C2 would be a permitted use for this.
And how would somebody find out what areas are zoned to that?
Well, they can contact us, or it's available on the website as well.
On the city
With the zoning
website?
map out there as well.
Okay. And then the problems with this business, are they reparable? I mean, is there any way this can stay here? I know that the city recommended, or the planners recommended denial. And I noticed that there are some issues going back a ways in terms of tires being stored outside and complaints and things like that. Is there anything that Mr. Velasco could do?
Well, I think our recommendation stands as it is. I think there's been a consistent history of problems and complaints. So, yeah, that's a critical issue. It's also, I think, a land use issue as well. I mean, with the proximity to residential across the street, the outdoor storage, that just presents kind of a nuisance, I think, for the neighborhood as well.
Now, let me ask you this, because, I have a contract with Enviro, but, I didn't want to get, a semi-box. I could easily, all of that is garbage that I have to, dispose of, but there's only a certain limit that I can fit inside my vehicle. That minivan, we can go in both of them, and they're just packed with junk tires, that I have to drive to Enviro to actually, dump. Now, if the city of Green Bay allow me, I could easily just, beside the building, if it allows it, a big box of, semi-truck. That way I will not have no trash outside. I mean, there would be no problem. If that bed needs to be removed, I can easily remove it, I mean, all of these problems, I feel like we can fix them without, not having to come back again and have any issues with this.
Excuse me, sir, Commissioner Bremer.
I'm having some difficulty. You're saying it wouldn't be a problem to fix it.
Yes, ma'am.
But you've been through this before over on Elizabeth Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Also having to do with the tires that you describe, I think, quite properly as trash.
Yes, ma'am.
What would lead us to think that you would get better at doing this when you've been through it before and fallen back and
Okay.
gone through it again? You've had this explanation with Scott Nelson
Yes, ma'am.
a couple times. I don't understand why you're still doing it.
Okay. Well, I come back to get to the point where, my limitation of me to keep good tires and junk tires stored in one building is, it's kind of tight because, I have to have inventory for basically from 14-inch tires to like 26-inch tires. So, it depends on the size of the tire as well. I have to lay them out like that for the same reason that, I don't want to grab a semi because, I could easily, like I said, bring back the semi. I could get a semi instead of storing them outside of the building. I could just throw them inside, and there would be no more problem. For the 215 Elizabeth, I spoke to Scott, and I paid. We did the zoning, the parking lots, all of that, and still at the end of the day, I had a little trailer that I was storing my tires in, and Scott Nelson was like, "Well, you can't have that parked there." So I came to my conclusion that. I could not have any type of storage unit where I could store my tires, my junk tires, outside for me to just dispose of them as I go, So that way, I feel like if I grab a semi, if it gets full, I just call Enviro, they come pick it up and replace it with a new box. That way, I will not run out of storage for junk tires like that.
What I'm hearing you say, though, is that you had reason to do it even though you've been told that you shouldn't do it.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
So why would we think that if we granted you the conditional use permit here, you wouldn't once again have reason to do it even though you've been told you shouldn't do it?
Well,
And
I understand where you're coming from. I totally understand. My reason would be my wife and my kid,
yeah,
That would-
that's still doing what we've said you aren't permitted to do. I think our chair's comment that it would really behoove you to look for a part of the city where you are permitted
Okay.
to have this kind of a business.
Yes, ma'am.
And this does not seem like the right place to me, and I hear you having good reasons if there were no limitations that the city
right.
puts on you.
Okay.
Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
When did you move into this location on Van Buren?
When did we move in there?
I believe it was in July.
I think it was in July, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Chair.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, basically what you're saying is that the building isn't large enough?
Well-
to store these trash
Well,
tires or used tires
Basically,
inside?
what I'm not saying is not large enough, is that, the fire department went in there, so, we have to, we have to come out, I have to come out with a new arrangement where I can actually fit everything that needs to be fit in there. Right now, the way I have it sitting, I have to have, a waiting room for my customers. I have to have, my mechanical room where all of that, and I have to have the display room, stuff like that for my business to actually, grow. Right now, the way I have it set up, I have to figure out a way to actually store them tires, the junk tires inside. All the tires that are on the side of the building, we have more shops, we have more businesses in Chicago. So the tires that are, sometimes I'm gonna have 30, 40 tires sitting outside, but in one day, boom, they're all gone. Because my dad comes, picks them up, and it's a family business. So, it's sometimes I understand it looks ugly, it looks nasty. And like I said, I can definitely fix that. That's not a big deal. But I understand where the lady's coming from. Where it's not just the first
I
time.
tend to concur with Commissioner Bremer that you may want to, and I would advise you to maybe look at another site in the city that would be conducive to this type of business, and also at the same time maybe a larger building that would more be suited to your needs.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wisniewski?
I'm curious, you don't own this land, are you?
No, sir.
Leasing it or renting it? Or
I am renting it, sir.
You're renting it?
Yes, sir.
On a monthly basis?
On a monthly basis. Well, I have a 1-year lease.
Okay. So, I gotta agree with the other commissioners here, basically. It sounds like, I almost call it a blivet. You can't run a business out of a place that's not big enough.
Yes, sir.
And you seem like a really good gentleman, and I'm sure you know your stuff and everything, because sounds like you've probably been doing this for a while, but wow, I just behoove you to find another place, and man alive, this is not gonna work. And
Okay.
I guess also the information I would have for the person who owns that property, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, but maybe planning can, who owns the rest of that property? There's a shopping mall or something there, a parking spot?
The company that owns that strip mall also owns this building.
Okay.
So,
That is correct.
These people should be made aware of that they're almost as much to blame as anybody else. Basically, they've actually led this gentleman to believe that he can make it work, and I'm sorry, I don't see it working for you. I think you're hitting your head against the wall, what you're doing. It's too bad, the conditions, but it would be nice if you could find a bigger place, and I'm sure there's some available off the beaten path somewhere.
Okay.
I, for one, could not vote in opposition to what the planning commission or the planning committee has actually offered us, and that's the only thing I can say is, please try to do that. I know you can do it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I don't, I'm going to ask Paul this, but I don't think that even if the conditional use was approved, I don't think you could have a semi or a dumpster stored there permanently.
Correct.
In either case, right?
Right, presents a fire hazard.
Yeah.
It's still outdoor storage, it's just contained, so
Yeah.
it would not be permitted.
I did look at this, and I did talk to people in the neighborhood, and some of the neighbors, no, I'll be honest with you, most of the residents that I talked to didn't come on real strong one way or the other. You know, a lot of people understand that it is a commercial property, and they'd like to see a commercial property that fits the best it can into the neighborhood. And to be honest with you, this isn't the most valuable commercial property we've got around there. Being on Van Duren, it's not as visible, as if it were on a main street. So it's, it has limited uses from a business perspective, I think.
As that history that you've listed shows.
It's ill suited for what size of it and what it's there for. Well, maybe a shoemaker or somebody goes in there, but
Yeah.
not a car place.
Yeah, but, what Paul explained, that the area south of there is primarily R1. On the north side, there are properties that are C1, R1, R2, R3. So it is kind of a mixed area, but you know, the problems that the inspectors gave you with outside storage, that sort of thing, you know, they're gonna exist here, every bit as strong as they
Yes, sir.
did on Elizabeth, probably even more so. You know, it's just something that the city doesn't allow outside storage in this type
I
of
understand, sir.
building. And, well, I wish I had a better answer for you.
I understand, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening to me, so.
Good luck to you.
Yep, thank you guys.
Find another spot, and you'll be successful.
Thank you.
Make a motion to deny.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to deny. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good luck.
You guys have a beautiful day.
Okay, good luck to you.
Good for you for working on your own business too. It's difficult.
Yeah, that's what's really great, somebody in your stature.
You know, it's fine. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming in.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Director's update, council actions. It's been a while since we had a meeting, so I just wanted to pull through.
Yeah, well,
Right.
4 weeks.
Short, everything went through, I'm just trying to pull up
Except
the report.
for the one apartment building by Goodwill
Correct.
on Brozig.
So the Brozig Street, correct, yeah, the one next to Goodwill Harbor Freight, the Plan Commission recommended. Alderman Nicholson made a motion to deny, and that was supported by the council. So that one did not get approved. Other than that, I'm just pulling up our meeting schedule here, just so I can read that report. Upheld the denial of the CUP on Dublin Street. Again, overturned the rezoning, provided the CUP for the 5-unit townhome at South Jackson Street. That's the NeighborWorks project, across from the Neverino Park. And then approved the CUP for the Tailgate Village at Limbo Field.
Without the roof sign,
Correct.
that's
That was
still
separate.
up in the air.
That one, yeah, I mean, and I talked with the applicant afterwards and just said, you know, in terms of remedies for moving forward, I mean, we did have, I think it was a few meetings ago, the request to allow for, what was it, projecting signs in the industrial district, you know, to look at amending the code or, you know, what other options might be available out there.
And the NeighborWorks one did go through?
Correct.
Great.
What's the status of that? It's just up in the air?
Of,
The sign
for,
for the
The tailgate
tailgate.
village.
They don't have,
so, I mean, right now, they can proceed ahead with everything except for that roof signage. I mean, in terms of a site plan approval, that roof sign would not be approved if they seek to get that roof sign. You know, as I mentioned, they would have to apply to amend the code to allow for roof signs and/or look at another way to do that. You know, I think there's some design options as well, you know, building the parapet up further so it's a wall sign and not a roof sign. But, you know, that'll be worked out through design stage.
So the ball in their court to come
Yep.
back, does that come back through here then? Or is it-
No, I mean, right now it'd just be site plan, well, take that back, if they make some design elements and change, so it's not a roof sign anymore, it's a wall sign or different type of sign, that just to be handled administratively. If they want to change language in our ordinance to allow for roof signs, we'll see that come back through here.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I am recalling when Hinterland got its water tower on top, or actually its
Silo.
silo on
Right.
top. And there was a general prohibition against that, and an exception was made for them. I believe that was how it went. And I'm trying to figure out what makes for exceptions and what requires redoing the entire ordinance.
My guess, before my time of year for the water tower?
It was a planned unit development that was amended, so
Okay.
it may have been tweaked in there.
Yeah, okay, the PUD saved it.
That's one of the few ways we can do it.
So that would be another way that the Packers could go on
Well,
this, right?
that opens a can of worms.
Yeah, I
And I don't know if
know.
we want to touch the zoning there, so I think we just
Mm-hmm.
let sleeping dogs lie, but it is an alternative, but I don't know if we would support it.
But that was the basis for the exception, that there was a PUD.
That was the mechanism, yeah.
Okay, thank you, that helps me. It still bothers me, though. I think
On the green
I
silo?
No, in fact, I like it. It was a good decision.
It fit.
It should happen, it fit, it
Fit the
works.
application.
But it seems to me there are also other situations where exceptions make sense. And this one, where the funding is basically dependent on, as they explained to me, being able to grant Johnsonville what they want by way of publicity, that sounds like a pretty clear hardship if you aren't able to do it. And some grounds for making an exception. Not that I'm presuming that decision, but just simply, there's an argument to be made there that's a pretty strong one, it seems to me. And we had a recent one as well. It was the projecting sign in the Bay Beach area. And again, the location that they were in, where they're on a corner and people can't easily see the sides of the buildings, they come up either way, it made sense. It was back from it was not a cluttering kind of item. So I could see where you could make the argument, and that's what I'm
I remember.
gnashing my teeth about.
I remember some in the past where people had wanted to put signage on their buildings that were in industrial parks and make the sign larger.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't bother anybody really to have that there, but we would be breaking the standards by doing
Exactly.
that. So I think that does get to be a bit problematic, because if we constantly break our standards, then why do we have standards in place?
Understood, you'd have to have some pretty good and convincing reasons to make the exception. You don't just willy-nilly make an exception here and there. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that would obviously be the argument on any of these things. Now, here's the standard. Is this an adequate reason to make an exception to that standard? When it means breaking the standard, as you put it. So I'm just registering the concern because this has come up several times.
I just happened to be over on GV today, and of course, that's Bellevue.
Yeah,
And perfect example of what it looks like when it gets out of
hand.
When everything gets out of hand. I mean,
Uh-huh.
It is an absolute mess over there by Costco.
Yeah.
As of late, a beautician shop went in there. They have a sign plastered across the front, and then they got another sign mounted on the roof. I mean, it's just absolutely atrocious. And I thought to myself, that's why we gotta kind of stick to our guns sometimes. Yeah. And you're right, I remember the brewery, we hashed that back and forth, and in that particular instance, it just fits. I mean, it's a fit for what they
And
did.
it was a PUD, and PUDs are because these are special
Yeah.
locations with special circumstances, so you've kind of got that definition
Mhm.
right there that this is special.
Yeah, and as you go around the city, now you see the value of having a certain size even plastered on the building. I mean, some uniformity, it's just not a cluttered mess. I mean, that's just, that's a horrible avenue over there. They really created that. That's actually development clutter as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you for letting me do that.
Thank you. I think we're done.
I will be adjourned.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So, last meeting, Sid.